Josh and Sue.
Tuesday, February 12th at 5:30 PM. Roll call. We got Mr. Putnam, Ellen, Mr. Kisco, Superintendent Kim. And can you get everybody else that's here? Mr. Lafferty.
And Mr. Cronin's excused, will not be here.
Well, he's an alternate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He's excused. And then I'd like to have an approval agenda, but prior to doing that, I need to make an announcement. The budget subcommittee meeting will immediately follow our meeting. I know the agenda for the budget said starting at 6 o'clock.
5:30.
What's that?
It said starting at 5:30.
Oh, the message I got said it started at 6.
No, that's the edit. Yeah, that's what he's saying. The edit was from 5:30 to 6. That's what he's saying immediately following. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Whatever is on there, it excludes immediately following.
Right.
So we're gonna put immediately following in case I get this done in 20 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fair enough. So I'll have a motion for approval of the agenda.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. And I'd like to make a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Public participation. Josh, do we have anybody on the public line?
I do not.
Wonderful. We'll skip number 5. And number 6, discussion next steps. We'll start with technology, and that would be you, Ms. Vines.
That's me.
Mrs. Vines.
Hi. So I've got the social media update first. So that went out in the packet of all of the top reaches for the district. And I'd like to give the gold star this month to Torrington Middle School, who posted about the opening of the brand new building and received 74,693 views.
Oh, nothing crashed?
Nothing crashed. And several interactions, lots of likes and hearts and all that. 204 shares, so the shares were up, which was great. And reached about 23,267 people. So those are numbers that I'm not entirely sure we've ever seen, honestly. So that's shout out to you, Jason. Great job. And yeah. And then we had some other postings about the building opening and other things happening in our community. Southwest was cute, little matching day there. And things of that sort. Any questions?
Nope.
I just want to add one thing, if I may.
Sure.
And kudos to Rachel and kudos to Jason and all of the other monitors of the site, because they've done a really good job monitoring and also communicating back to central office. So we know some people get their information just from one source if they don't have children at the middle school or Forbes or Vogel or Southwest or so on, and they just go on our district page. Mary has put those on as well. So kudos to Rachel for organizing that with Jason and the other coordinators, and it's really important so that everyone sees the message.
Excellent. Duly noted.
Thank you.
We'll make sure that gets in the minutes too, right? All right, perfect. All right. Is that all you got, Rachel?
For social media, yeah.
Okay. Jump right into tech update if you like.
So obviously it's been new building, and more new building. I'd like to give a shout out to my team who worked pretty much endlessly on this project and getting the old building empty as well, getting all of the technology that's in the old building out and 2 other schools in the district repurposing a lot of stuff. So thank you to them and all the work that they've put in as well. But everything is up and running. Everybody's got their smart boards. We had a training for staff on, the smart boards, the phones, the two-way intercom system in the rooms at the high school. And that training is going to be offered again next Tuesday during PD for any staff members that may have missed it or have leftover questions about the technology in their rooms. And yeah, that's what we've been up to.
Does anyone have any questions for Rachel or anything they'd like to add?
I'll add that was a monumental task for you guys. I was there on the tour, saw what you were going through that weekend. I know that was a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of hard work, so kudos to the team for pulling it all together. And nobody really, what the secret to IT is for nobody to know you did it, right?
Right.
So, they came in Monday or Wednesday and it worked, so nice job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Alright. Do you have anything else? Nothing?
I think that's it.
Alright, so we can move right on to Mr. Picola and facilities.
Okay, same thing about the new school, and we're in pretty good shape. We had a good start, and I know we had a meeting, and we had talked about that, but we're still kind of going through some of the systems and understanding them and making sure that the custodial staff is on board. We've changed our routine a little bit with the new school, which I'm gonna implement with the other schools, as far as how we do things. And one of the additional things we did with one of the other schools is we repurposed the generator that was at the high school that was about 7 or 8 years old. And we got it moved over to Southwest School, so it's there, so that move had happened, and the electrician should be there tomorrow to get that wired up. It's a generator. We're gonna be using it for our emergency and exit lighting, which the inverter inside the building blew probably a couple months ago, so we were able to repurpose this to fill that void. So it was a repurposing of this generator, which was a good thing. And I'm gonna be getting together with each one of the principals now and going through their buildings and coming up with a kind of a to-do list to figure out how we're gonna, give them some of the attention that we haven't given them in the past 3 or 4 months.
Alright, super. That's all we had on the facilities agenda. Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Kisko?
Only about the agenda that was sent out by email that shows a different. Shows a different list under this facilities topic.
So which he did cover both topics. So which one was the official one? The one we printed out or the one that's on there?
Bless you.
Thank you. We did cover both topics. This is project updates and new building status. Well, technically, we can't talk about project updates because it's not on the official agenda. Unless you'd like to make a motion right now to amend it and add project updates. Are you prepared to talk about that since it's not on there, or do you want to move it to the next meeting?
I could touch on a couple of projects we're working on if you'd like.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to, do you have a question?
No, I'll amend.
So I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to add section, I guess it would be B2 for project updates under the facility section. Do I hear a motion for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any
It
questions?
is on all those emails.
Hearing none, the motion's passed.
Someone said it.
So Dean, if you want to take on number 2, get a projects update.
Yeah, so the one project I'd like to speak about is the Torrent Ford front foyer. We're 99.9% complete with that now. Last time we were waiting for the S2 to be up and running, which it is now. Rachel had her team going over there, so that's fully functional and operational. We are still waiting for a little bit of adjustment on the door, but other than that, it's came out great. It does look good. The entrance where the staff sits is all coordinated with the buttons and everything they need to go in there, so That's the project update that I can give you.
Okay.
And we're gonna be moving forward on some other smaller projects. I'm gonna have a team going over to Vogel, take care of a bathroom floor we have over there that has been, it was leaked and then it started to buckle, so we're gonna be ripping up the floor, putting a new floor down and resetting some fixtures. And that's pretty much what we've been working on, where we are.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Did the Siemens folks make some good progress over the?
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Yes, they did. The VFD showed up. They were stored, they're starting to install them and go forward, so they're on schedule. You know, it's not a consistent flow, but it's a flow where they're getting in there, getting the work done and starting to turn some of the stuff on and transferring over, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're going forward. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Kisco, do you have a question?
No.
No? About our roof thing, our bid, is that,
That is moving forward.
I could share with that. Dean, Donna, and I have worked with the state to put it in under the construction project. That has been done. And I can just share with the group what we thought. We had everything, and when you think you have everything, you realize you need 13 more things. Gale and Associates has been wonderful working with Dean, and Donna and I spent quite a bit of time, but we had it official, we got our official, it's submitted. So we made it well under the deadline, we didn't wait till the last day, but I just want everyone on this committee to understand there was a huge process, and Gale has been a real true partner. When Donna and I realized and Dean realized we needed X, Y, or Z, or this form, they literally got it back to us within 2 hours, sometimes 5 hours. So they've been a real partner with this, but I just want everyone on the board to understand that was a huge undertaking, but it was very nice hitting the final submit button. I think Donna and I kind of paused because every other time we hit submit, it came back that they needed 4 other things. So on the last submit, when it was approved, we all gave a little breath and a high five. So nothing has been reported since then, but I just want to mention they've been a great partner.
and that's Connecticut DAS, their
Yep.
website? Okay. So it's all official on their side.
Everything's official
When does, do we have a
on the core, yeah.
rough score schedule?
We do. I don't have anything with me in front of me. I forget when the bid date should be. Was it March? Do you remember? You remember when it said March?
I believe it was.
I think it was somewhere in middle of March where it was gonna go out to bid. And then we do have a schedule they put together on what this project will look like. Again, it's in that packet that we had. I don't have it in front of me. It's progression.
So when are we planning on, like, once results are in, when's it gonna, like, start, end? Do we have like a rough order of magnitude when we plan on doing that work?
Yeah, so it might be broken up into 2 summers, because of the magnitude of the work. And
Okay.
we can't work on the roof. Not probably, it will be. We were looking at a couple other, like, holidays, try to squeeze in here and there, but theoretically, it's going to be a 2-summer project. At the end of next summer, it should be complete, will be complete. But if we slowly bite at it on those certain days, it might shorten that timetable.
So is that how it's spec'd, like a phased project for 2
Yep,
summers?
yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the benefit is Dean also being a committee that works with the city on that they have allowed him to be a committee. It makes those decisions when he goes to present those plans, makes it move more seamlessly. And, while, to answer your question, Glenn, I thought the same to Dean, like, can we really try to hammer it and get it done in 1 summer? Just not feasible, and to rush it and not do it right on a roof that we need to last, it's just not the appropriate response. So Dean was good at talking me off the ledge of that as well, but Gail was really a thought partner in saying, it's not worth trying to just jam it in. It's just not the best way to do it. So while it seems like a long time, I mean, as we know, to have a roof that doesn't leak, to wait 2 years is well worth it rather than to do something that we have problems with.
Okay. Any other questions?
On that, no?
No? So we can move on for topics, future meetings, I guess. Unless, Dean, you have anything else you wanna add? No.
Did we not add new building?
Yeah,
updates
new
back?
building status.
Did we add them both, or we just had the one? New building status was on the,
He talked about that first part. That's what he talked about, the new building.
you have any questions for the new building?
you
talked about that first.
Sure. My question was just, previously we had a large punch list. Superintendent Wilson had mentioned there's a large punch list. How is that going for the facilities committee benefit? Do we have any large items that we're working that we need to be concerned about?
So we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we've kind of narrowed it down to a process now, where if a teacher or somebody in the building sees something that raises a concern and may or may not be on O&G's punch list, we have a way that we're handling it through certain channels and making sure that things get done. I just had a meeting yesterday with the powers to be that are gonna be handling items like that, and they're picking away at them. There's nothing that's gonna be left unturned. It may not happen overnight, construction just doesn't happen that way, but they're actively, every night they're in there on weekends, knocking these things out, so they're actively working on punch list items. As far as large,
No, I was gonna say, Dean's selling himself way short. So, and I appreciate that modesty, Dean, but Dean has worked, we had a meeting a week and a half ago to address the punch list, because the punch list has several items on it, and in terms of how do we make the punch list manageable and make sure everything gets done, and who's the point of contact, and who's going through, and who's editing the punch list. So Dean is selling himself short. He spent 2.5 hours yesterday going through that punch list with O&G to make the notes in our new punch list, and that punch list is a live document that we can go in every day and say, okay, door jam on room 1001, not fixed, but will be fixed by March 2nd. And Dean then verifies. So he was selling himself a little short, but that's the process we have now, because we want to make sure every item gets addressed and nothing gets left. So at the building committee, we mentioned it at the last building committee, as everyone knows, that's the process now that I'm sure they'll mention at the building committee too. But Dean is the point of contact for all things facility, and Rachel is the point of contact for all things technology. Any items on those lists now have another column that we've instituted to say the when, which helps. And I hope that helps answer your question, but Dean was being way too modest in his approach, but he spent crazy amount of hours making sure that that list is getting done.
Oh, thank you. Is there anything that the board, that's big? Do you have any large items, or are they all pretty much, door jams? And just trying to understand if there's we always like to know what's going on. We don't necessarily hear it all the time. Is there anything you have that concerns over?
There was a problem, there was a leaking problem that they found the solution of what it was. And that was probably the largest problem that just because it's a leak and history of leaks.
Actually, yes,
So
ironically enough.
as far as large and eye-opening, that was it. They've identified it, they come up with a plan how to fix it, there's a time frame they are gonna fix it, and that to me was probably the most concerning when it comes to board. There's other things that are, they're all concerning, right? But,
Of course, but
you pick away at it and you realize that, fortunately it's O&G, they're right downtown on Wall Street, they're not going anywhere, so we can always knock on their door, but they've been good. And again, I have led it, but those guys have helped inputting stuff and making adjustments, so it's not, thanks for the accolades, boss, but it's been a team effort. And they've been working very well with us, so.
great, thank you.
I just have a couple of questions. One, in regards to the punch list, like nobody ever sees the punch list on our side, which, so be it, that's fine. The building committee, I don't think they've actually shared a punch list, they just say there's X number of items. So the official turnover to building was January 2nd or 3rd or somewhere around there. So since the official turnover at the high school side, what was it, the 16th?
Yeah, when the kids were in there?
No, the official turnover from the project from O&G to the
Okay.
to the Board of Ed, I think was January 2nd or 3rd was official turnover.
Yeah.
Around there.
Do you have a timeline as to when these punch list items need to be complete?
So that's a great question, and that's where I think Dean was going, and Dean, feel free to jump in if I misdo it. The fact that we have this process and procedure now with that third column, we know some items just can't be done on the punch list until maybe the start of the summer, just because of the nature of it. So if I were to honestly answer your question, cards on the table, when will that punch list be complete from the high school portion? I would say midsummer would be a realistic time frame, only because some of those items are gonna take more time, and they really need 2 to 3 to 4 days of emptiness. And that's not gonna happen over a weekend, it's not gonna happen just in one night. The other stuff that Dean mentioned, fixing a door jamb, fixing the rubberized caulk, those are items that they're going in nightly and doing. So if I were to give you an answer, Glenn, I I would be cautious in my answer to say midsummer. I'd be happy to say it's gonna happen before then, but I think just from having that meeting, and I was at that meeting when we talked about how we're gonna do it, and yes, Dean is right, ONG has been beyond responsive. They understand that all eyes are on us. There's no one who doesn't understand that, and they also understand that they wanna do that right as well. So they're not gonna go in and just put a patch on something that needs a little more time, energy, and effort. So, I mean, unless I'm wrong, Dean, I mean, that would be my expectation. And that's kind of what they tip their hand to. The small items they are working on and getting to, but those bigger items are just gonna take that much more time, so.
And there's been a couple of items that have popped up recently, so, you know, not major, but quirky things, oh, geez, forgot about that, or that's
We
came
had
in
one that
wrong.
came up today,
Yeah. but-
literally.
So, and again, you know, by the beginning of next school year, okay, they should be out of the high school. You know, should be.
And then the
out.
Right, and then
middle school
the-
punch list begins.
Yeah, exactly, because then that's,
John, I knew you were gonna say it, I
You
don't.
get one or
just
two
remember that
things
as we
here and
turn
there,
over
I'm not
for middle
considering
school.
that, but I'm not saying they're gonna be in there with a crew at night, that should end. You know, if there's this one or two things, or half a dozen things beginning of next school year, that's one thing, but it's not a constant flow of.
right, and a lot of the punch list items from the high school, hopefully they learn, they don't repeat them on the middle school side.
Fingers crossed.
That's what I was gonna
Shelley
say.
heard us say that today.
Ellen, you have a question?
And having a punch list is typical
Oh,
of
absolutely.
any,
Oh, my
right,
goodness.
especially the magnitude of the
Yeah,
project.
there's nothing here
So,
that's,
right,
there's
and it's
nothing
just-
here that people should say, oh my gosh, look at that. I mean,
Right,
this
and
is so
even though
difficult.
it seems extensive,
Yeah.
it's just part of the, yeah, nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful they're working so well,
Absolutely.
which is, helps their reputation too, because they wanna do good for us, which is great.
This is maybe more of a budget question, but it's also related to facilities. I'm sure when it comes up in the budget in the new school, if we need additional staffing for the facilities team or janitorial,
It's in there,
it's all in there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, any other questions? All right, moving on. Topics for future meetings. Anybody,
What you have,
same thing?
and I probably don't need roof update again, but.
No, we'll wait, roof will get in
Projects and
March,
building
March or April.
status, yeah.
That would be maybe a facilities capital progress, that report you've done for us every couple of months is really nice, kind of shows us where you're at.
Yeah, we'll be able to start jumping back in on some things.
Yeah,
I got a question on that. So, on the last facilities report for Forbes, we had Forbes as it is. Do we wait to see if your plan is approved from the city side before we amend the cap? Because that capital plan for Forbes is kind of for a little kid's school. If we move to your plan and it gets approved, that capital's got to change, because there's a lot more work that would need to be done.
So I
So do we
think,
wait for the approval, or do we do it now?
well, from an approval standpoint, it's not the city approval. It's for the board to give us the okay to continue on with the proposed plan for Fast Academy. And then in terms of any changes that would have to be made from a capital nature, we are allowed to make edits to the document, even though that 5-year plan was submitted. I believe that's what you're referring to, right, in the question, the 5-year?
Correct.
Yep. So in the 5-year plan that was submitted, Dean would come with it in hand, is, right after the approval, obviously not that same night, and after having time to review it, and then he would sit down and say, we need to make these changes to the capital. The facility subcommittee would approve it, the full board would approve it, and we would send the amended version to the city for their approval.
Did
So
the city already kibosh the capital that
They
you
did
submitted?
not, no,
They
so
did
the
not?
city they have received our 5-year capital, they don't vote on it until, Donna, what was the official date? I'm sorry.
It's gonna be in like April or
April,
May.
March.
Yeah,
The
April, May.
amount that was, the kibosh was on was the 302,000 that was in the reserve from last year. We had asked to use it for, some other items.
Oh.
That was the amount that we got zeroed out on. And we were zeroed out on our ask overall for his plan last year in April and May. So we're working on reserves right now.
Wonderful.
so, and any of those facilities can always be amended, provided Dean gives the backup that the board feels is appropriate and
Yep.
the board approves the change. And to your point, Glenn, I think there will be some things that either just get switched or swapped. I don't think, in talking with Dean, and I'm not putting him on the spot, I don't think it's gonna change that drastically, but I don't know.
I believe that reflected Fast Academy.
Keeping it, yeah, keeping Forbes open.
Keeping forwards with some adjustments for Fast Academy.
Your capital plan?
I believe it did. Again, I haven't looked at it since.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's, again, just my opinion, it could be a moot point, because that could be stupid, but, I think there's more things like as far as furniture and things that need to be included in there that can
Okay.
add up pretty quickly.
Well, we'll take a look. I thought
We wanted to
looked at
split it
bathroom-
up.
I thought we looked at.
Remember, we wanted to split the
Yeah,
building,
I thought we looked
that's
at
not in
bathroom
there.
groups, and we looked at isolating one side of the building, so.
Yeah, there's a
There
lot
will
more
be
to it.
Yep, there will be more.
And all that still comes down to, we can approve the Fast Academy, but it all comes out the budget.
Yes, it does. That's correct. I think if, with the current proposed budget that we'll hear momentarily, I do believe it gets us everything we want, including Fast Academy, which I think is a wonderful thing.
Okay. One thing like that, can we add to our agenda next week, Dean, if this, or next month, updating some contracts? One we had talked about was the outdoor stuff.
Just to give you a heads up, I talked to Jesperson today, about taking a look at that, and I know we've been talking back and forth.
We could, it's not on the agenda, so we're gonna put it on the agenda for
Got
next
it.
month, alright? So we'll add that. What else there was something else I just popped in my head.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Anybody else wanna add anything else? Rachel, you gotta stay with your two
Yeah, I mean,
standard
I
items, or is there anything special that you wanna
probably
talk about?
encompass anything in the update,
No?
so if I have something on.
Oh, and there's one in it, we had a list of contracts. I think the propane one was not on that list, so let's just make sure we update that list, so it reminds us.
The propane is for the buses, so that falls under the business department mostly. The
It can
auto
come from the
propane.
budget piece, yeah.
Okay,
Wasn't on the facilities.
alright, so it's not part of the facilities contract, so
I
there's.
guess.
You guys always punt things to other teams. That's a Mr. Putnam idea that
Yeah.
usually works.
Yeah, should punt it to my own work one way or
I
another.
don't understand how you guys do that, but yes, it comes to you anyway.
Okay,
But yeah, it does come under the business office.
Maybe not for next month, but maybe in April, we could get an update on the insurance experience.
Sure,
Just to, you got a lot going on still, so.
yeah.
But,
so add that to Rachel's.
yeah, probably not until, I would say, what, April would be reasonable?
What did we call that?
Yeah.
Isn't there a name we came up with?
Protection plan?
Protection plan. Protection plan update.
Yes.
Alright, anything else? Comments for good order, go start with you, Mr. Putnam.
No, great meeting, thanks guys.
Mr. Wilson?
Great meeting, thank you very much.
Great meeting, thank you.
Very efficient meeting.
Yeah.
And it's very,
Alright,
All set, thanks.
good, good. Good meeting, thank you.
Good meeting.
Alright,
Thanks for all your extra hard work.
that leaves you, Mr. Kisco, the best for last.
Enjoyed it.
Alright, motion to adjourn.
Behind you though.
So
What's
moved.
that? Oh,
Behind you.
what's that? Oh, Jason, Marissa, and yourself. You weren't here. Motion to adjourn.
Did you get Shelley?
Yes, came right
Okay.
down the line.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
5:59.
The ayes have it.
of the Budget Committee on Wednesday, February 12th. We need to do a roll call first and then we'll amend. Okay, roll call first. We have Mr. Putnam, myself, Glenn, and Marissa, you, everybody else that's here. These three fine people.
Sue DePretis is online.
Yep, Sue's online, and I saw, no, Sandy was for the last meeting, okay. So I'd like to, before approval of the agenda, I would like to approve it with an amendment. The time says 5:30 PM, and it should really read immediately following the Finance Committee meeting.
So, or the facilities.
Facilities.
So moved.
Is there a second? Glenn, second?
Second, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public participation? You guys are considered public, would you like to?
Here listening. Church mice.
We do have a phone number on the line. If they're part of the public, they should speak now.
You gotta read your thing.
I need to read it, okay. Public participation. Members of the public and staff may bring to the committee's attention information, ideas, or matters of concern related to all the duties and responsibilities of this committee. This committee will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. The time of individual remarks will be apportioned according to the number of speakers and will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker unless extended by the chair. Does anyone wish to speak? Hearing nothing. We'll move on. Discussion and next steps. Monthly financials. Donna.
Okay, so everybody received their monthly financials in their packet. And once again, we're in good standing. All of the items that might have a few variances have been discussed in our previous meetings. I didn't know if anybody had any questions.
Is there anything that you'd like to bring to our attention?
I think we're plugging away, it looks great.
Okay, any questions?
I
Jeff?
just have one. Is the building committee still reimbursing us for any of the electricity costs? Is it? Because they were paying for sort of natural gas. They were paying
Right.
for some of the utilities.
Right,
Is that still happening?
propane. Yeah, I don't believe so. I could check on that.
Just because I figure the middle school still is an ONG building, right?
I'm not sure it's powered though, no?
Yes, it is.
I'll look into it. We had been invoicing them prior. I believe it was for the propane though, not the electricity, but I could double check.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
There's nothing that you wanna bring to our attention before we, no?
Everything looks pretty standard,
Okay,
and again, we went over some of the variances in the previous meetings.
Anything?
Yeah.
Anyone? Okay, let's move on. Budget timeline update.
Oh, so I believe everybody, I don't know if anyone had it in their packet this time, but we had it in last month's packet, the timeline for the budget.
I was looking for it. Let's see.
If not, we could send it out again. It was in, I think it was in last month's packet. Our next event, obviously, we're gonna have the presentation tonight for the budget for next year from the superintendent. And then we will be having at the next regular budget committee meeting, a review of any changes. I know that there were questions that some of the board members had presented, and those will be shared tonight, or if there's any follow-up questions, we'll be getting back to the board on those. And then it looks like March 19th will be more of a public showing of a workshop, Coffee and Budget, Conversations with Members of the Public. Do you want me to go through the whole thing, or?
Nope, that's good.
Okay.
So we're on target on the timeline, okay?
Yes.
Any questions?
I think it's just the meeting that you had asked for it to be, instead of just a public meeting.
Yeah, this
Oh,
one, I
right,
think.
on the 19th, we had talked at the last meeting. It is a public workshop, but we also wanted to have like a meeting afterwards, just to have dialogue, communications, if anyone needed it, or anything that we needed to talk about.
Yeah, I would just say if you wanted to have that conversation, that's wonderful. It would just be an amended agenda item. So it'll be coffee and budget, and then immediately followed by, this way if not, if we don't get a outpouring of folks, we could
Right.
do that and we would be fine from a
Okay,
agenda perspective.
so,
I can make that change.
yeah, we'll think of that
Sure.
when it comes to that time.
Okay.
To have it posted. Great. Yes,
It was brought up at the last general board meeting by Mr. Kisco about a follow-up to the redistricting with those public things. And someone had mentioned about pairing it with this March 19th, but I don't know if that's too far out and that we need redistricting talked and approved before that.
So we have our redistricting next Wednesday.
Oh,
which
okay.
is the night
special meeting.
before, right?
No, that's next Wednesday.
It's next Wednesday, the 19th of
Next
February.
Oh, sorry, February
2/19,
19th,
so
right.
that's a public kind of workshop type of the same thing as the budget,
It's a
or?
special board meeting, but it's to address, I guess, some follow-up questions that board
Okay.
members had. And then I guess we'll see what the pleasure is there.
Okay,
I would imagine,
Actually, if I could just interject quick, at that time, we also have to discuss how to bring the public back in and have some kind of a public forum. And that's, Jason, I think to your reference, perhaps building it into the budget public discussion that we were gonna do on March 19th. I think that's what you're referring to, because we did mention that at the full board meeting, combining the two. Is that
Sue,
what you're talking about?
I can't really understand what you're saying, so Michael's gonna interpret.
Yeah, what she said was that at that meeting next week, she was gonna have the discussion with the board on if that were appropriate to bring and how the public can get involved. Not necessarily that date, but possibly. Did I get that correct, Sue?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what we
Thank
said
you.
at the meeting last week.
Correct, 100%.
and there is usually public participation on all of our meetings, so I'm sure somebody could
But it's a special, so unless it's listed on the agenda item, then you cannot. But it might be, I don't know, I didn't see that agenda yet.
Well, if it's not, it's
So
still a
can
week
we
away.
put it on the agenda?
You could certainly put public comment on the agenda if you so choose.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
You just can't add any items to the agenda.
Afterwards, correct. Okay,
I got it, Jason.
okay. Now, what we've all been waiting for.
Ooh, waiting, all right. I'm gonna
Superintendent's
stand up for this
presentation
one.
of the 25-26 budget.
Sure. Josh, can you go to the videotape, please?
Marissa, can you get them?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else need a copy?
There we go. So, good evening, everyone. As the board has seen, this is our 25-26 budget. We will go through it, as this board has heard me say numerous times. Nothing is done in isolation. A budget is certainly not done in isolation. It takes a team effort. So you will hear from members of the team throughout this presentation as well. And you will also hear, the reasons and the rationale why. I also want to thank the members of this committee for asking their questions ahead of time. And at the end, everyone has seen those responses, but at the end, we will also pull those back up to see if there's any follow-up questions to those. And we'll talk more about that later. Josh? So obviously, it's important to note this is our family, right? We don't take that for granted. This is our Torrington family, so we wanted to show some shots of the Torrington family. Once again, the board has heard me say that numerous times, you're part of the team, so you're in the shot as well. Please, Josh, next. Couple more shots, obviously our teacher of the year, obviously our wonderful food service director. I shared with the board, we all served lunch there, so that was a great day. The Dragon Wagon, best chili Fritos ever, just so everyone knows, best chili Fritos there. Next, please. So what we like to do, and what I like to do, and I shared with the board last year, a number is just a number for a lot of folks, but a number is not just a number for us. What's the story behind our number? And if we don't have a story behind our number, then any budget is just that. It's just a number and it doesn't mean anything. And we know that the number goes way deeper. The number for us is about our students. And if we cannot provide for our students through a budget that allows us to do that, then it is just a number, and that's unacceptable. So the story behind our numbers, as we shared last year, always will be centered around our students. We take the budget process seriously, just so everyone understands from a budgetary process standpoint. Our administrators, they come, they present their budget, very, very aware of the needs and very aware of the community. They plan those budgets, they come and they sit and they work with the central office cabinet team, and that takes us about a good week to a week and a half. So I want to publicly thank our administrators. That is no easy task to prepare a building-based budget and then to come and present it to the central office cabinet. Our central office cabinet reviews those requests. Donna, myself, Sue, Dean, Kristen, Rachel, Laura, okay? We sit there, we review those, and we then say, and Kim, and we say, then what do we put forward? What comes into the superintendent's budget? We also want to look back historically. Where have we been? And what does that mean? Well, where it is for us is a sad tell. You know, we've only received an overall increase of 0.71%. Under 1% the last 4 years. That is not sustainable. If anyone thinks running any type of organization, if you want to do a quick business analogy, you cannot run a business under 1%. It just does not happen. And it does not happen for us. We understand that it's taxpayer dollars. That does not fall on deaf ears. We have a lot of taxpayers who work for us. We understand that behind that. But we cannot sustain what we need to do in order to provide for our students with that. Combined with the fact that our salaries have increased, contractual salary amounts. Contractual salary amounts have increased on an average of 5% over 4 years. Not just the board giving away over 5%. That gets approved by the Board of Education, it also gets approved by the city. So everyone is understanding where these increases are coming from through contract negotiations. There is no surprise. Our budget has to and always will also align with our vision and mission. Josh, if you will. Vision and mission, so what does that come down to for us, right? And this is where I think Ellen was giving me the drum roll, right? Where are we at with the budget? Well, here's where we're at. We're at 7.28%. $5,729,851. That is no small amount. We understand that. We take that seriously. However, several factors drive this increase, as we all know. Contractual increases in salaries we just talked about, benefits, employees, special education services and transportation. And Laura does a great job monitoring those, but as anyone knows, special education costs across the country, forget the state of Connecticut, across the country have been monumentally increased. So that is not a Torrington issue. That is insert name here, and you will see that same correlation. We understand 7% seems high, but once again, to go less than 1% over 4 years and make it work, and to show the growth we've shown, and I could not be prouder that our teachers working so hard, our administrators working so hard. Assistant Superintendent Ferguson is going to share it at the next board meeting, the growth from our fall to winter scores. Phenomenal, phenomenal. So we're doing it. We're doing it, making it work. In terms of new initiatives, what are we doing, right? So where does this come from, right? Where does it come down to? You talk about students, Mr. Wilson, show me, show me, show me. Well, here it is. You've heard our benchmark series. Our teachers are implementing that benchmark reading series with such fidelity and such dedication across our K-6 spectrum. We had a K-5, as this board recalls. We pushed for grade 6. This woman right here pushed. Why'd she push for it? Because we knew it's going to have the benefits. Jason, thank you for shaking your head. You know it's working. Our students are showing growth. And Austin today, and I'm going to call her out, Ms. Galullo came today for her mid-year meeting, and she won't mind me sharing this. She did a cohort data from summer regression analysis before we had benchmark implemented and after. After benchmark, the summer regression was less than 1%. Less than 1%. So our students are retaining. It's working. We're doing it. That's going to continue. That costs dollars. That costs teacher dollars. That costs resource dollars. What else? Well, we know that, me being a math guy, I've been here for 2 years now, and where's our math going? And Sue and I have had these conversations. She said, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. We need to put those resources in our teachers' hands so that we could implement the mathematics curriculum with fidelity that is going to show growth in those numbers. So that's where some of those dollars are going. Fast Academy, Glenn referenced this earlier in the facilities meeting. We're beyond excited. The board has heard that plan. You know, this is a great opportunity, an alternative educational placement for our 7-12 students. And Laura has some great ideas to add as well, as she shared at the last meeting. So we need that academy to provide for all students. They're all students in our district. And then back to a programmatic piece. Obviously, this is my budget currently, as it sits. I never say I, so it's the team's budget that we're presenting to the board. From the board's perspective, after a couple more looks at it, obviously it then gets pushed along to, becomes the board's budget and then to the city. Josh? So budget management summary. So before I hand the mic over to Donna, who'll jump in on this, the budget management summary, this is something we shared with the board last year. We know Donna does a great job monthly and shares the monthly financials. And we all know that we can get very granular in the monthly financials, but the monthly financials are always chunked. Always have been, always will be. So what we did in this next several pages is show you the chunking and show you the increases and sometimes decreases and the reason behind it. So it's not just, hey, here's the increase 6%. What drove that 6%? Because that's the question that should be asked. And that's why we ask it. And that's why we put it in this format, just to remind everyone. And I will say that this format, and Jason, thank you. I did watch the last budget meeting. I was not here, but I did watch it at home. Thank you for saying that it was well appreciated by all. Several people, teachers, community members have said that. This was easy to read. This shows it right there. It answers the question. What else is there for us to ask? Nothing. And that's the answer. So thank you for that, Jason. So Josh, Donna, I'll step aside, or you can go right from there. You don't have to stand.
Okay. I'll take it from here. Okay, so as Super Wilson has noted, you'll notice that the line items roll up. So in this first page, we're looking at salaries. And the increase was attributed to, as he said, the contractual increases, along with some benefits that increased on a SRO that we have from the city. There was a change in staff, so the benefits we also incur from the city at a 50-50 split. And there was also the perfect attendance, that was a big hit, and that had increased as well. So that's really the driving force behind that increase. Next slide, please. Thank you. For this, again, these are the non-certified staff. There was a contractual increase, and basically that's what's reflected in this. We are also looking to increase our custodial staff by 5, as you had heard earlier. So that's what's driving that percentage. Next slide, please. And for the benefits, this includes everything: health, life, unemployment, workers' compensation, severance. There was a tuition reimbursement that we had to increase to bring it to the actual for this. It wasn't budgeted in the way that it should have been previously, and we have more people taking advantage of it. Also, a contractually agreed upon clothing allowance that needed to be increased. So that's the driving force behind that increase. For professional services, as you can see, we're pretty much going down 0.57%, so 0.5%. So that is due mostly because of the negotiated contracts and really just remaining flat on a lot of items. Next slide, please. Infrastructure, you'll notice a decrease there, and that is due a lot in part to our wonderful facility services, doing a lot of things in-house and having, that hands-on approach, low cost, no cost savings. So that's where you'll see those realized. Transportation, as Superintendent Wilson had noted, we're working really hard at keeping those costs down, and Laura does an excellent job at that for our students who are receiving special education. But as you know, there's a lot of increases nationally with fuel prices and services, so that's why you're seeing that increase there. Next slide, please. Or, oh, I'm sorry, supplies.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, supplies, yes, we had spoken about these wonderful K through 8 math programs, so that's where the increase is coming there. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much holding steady for this year, but the 447,000 and change is due to that purchase that we would like to do for our students.
Which the board has not yet seen the presentation, but it's coming.
Correct.
Yes, next month's will go.
I didn't hear what she said,
She
I'm
said the
sorry.
board has not yet seen the presentation on that material. It's coming to the next school improvement.
Oh, that was my question.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the answer. And equipment, that looks like a large increase, but it really is just because it was underfunded previously. All other things are being held steady in the equipment line item and the licenses. And that basically summarizes the roll-ups, that, you know, the 30,000 view of the budget.
I'll take back over here for a second. We all know, this board has heard how much we depend on grants. And grants are very important. We are beyond fortunate and blessed to have one of the best grant writers I know that I've ever worked with in Donna Labby. And this is important to note. If we didn't receive these grants, our total budget would be $96,825,477, 23%. That's unbelievably insane, and we would never be able to sustain that and go in and ask for that. So these grants, you know, when people just say, oh, you write a grant and get it, I wish it were that easy. These grants take an inordinate amount of time, energy, and effort, and these grants are very highly monitored. For example, the Alliance Grant. The Alliance Grant, we have to not only prepare the Alliance Grant, we have to meet with the person to make sure the Alliance Grant gets approved. Once approved, make any modifications, and then quarterly monitoring with the state of Connecticut on our initiatives and how they're working and are we achieving those. And they do something, it's very similar to a return on investment. It's where are our dollars allocated in Alliance and are they working? And that is monitored very closely by the state of Connecticut. Without that monitoring and without successful strides towards growth, that grant could go away. It is not just given. So I want to be very clear on that. People have a very sometimes misguided interpretation of what a grant is. It takes a lot of time to write it, it takes a lot of time to implement it, and it takes a lot of time to monitor it closely with Fidelity. So just want to make sure everyone is crystal clear on the grants. Next, Josh. So the budget detail summary, this is, you know, the one you get every month. So I'm really going to skip over these next slides, but I want to point out something. Josh, if you can scroll down, please, 18, I believe. My memory is correct, page 18. Important to note, page 5, we mentioned 7.28%, correct? Page 5, page 18, 7.28%. Very important, it appears 3 times in the document. If it doesn't appear 3 times in the document is incorrect, and it does. What does this show? If we just look at our chart, and this is very similar to insert district here, 70% of our budget, 70% salary and benefits, 70, right off the reel. So the other 30% is where we do amazing things for our students. And part of the amazing things we do is also tied into our salaries and benefits, because if we didn't have great administrators, and we didn't have great teachers, and we didn't have great paras, and we didn't have great clerical staff, and we didn't have great food service, we wouldn't be able to do all of those wonderful things. So this is how it works for us, and it's important to see that, and that is very similar. You can pull any budget packet, they're all popping up across the state right now, they're all popping up across the country. Anywhere from 70 to 80% would be a standard. 80 in the very, very small districts, obviously, but 70 to 80, we're right there. But once again, page 5, page 18, and then on the last page of the document. Josh? So Kim, if you could jump in and talk about this, that'd be wonderful.
Absolutely. So with the collaboration of the board, we have negotiated most of our non-certified contracts over the last year, and we've got some generous increases for our lower paid staff, which is really nice, and you'll see that we have that over the course of the next few years, but this is what it looks like for next year. And then you want to go to the next page? And then our stipend positions for the teachers, we also negotiated a nice increase for that, which we hadn't done in a few years in the teacher's contract. So all of our stipend positions also have increases that we'll be seeing in the next contract. So that's part of this increase as well. Anybody has any?
I'll get back in. Once again, these next pages, I'll kind of jump in. This was something, once again, we did last year, and I know, Jason, I'm gonna look to you again, because I know you appreciated this last year, and I know other people did as well, but you're sitting right there, perfect view.
I'll take
It's
it.
the old, when you learn to speak to a room, it just happens that way. So this really gives you that granular level. This could not be more of an open and transparent book. This shows exactly what every member of the team is making through contractual increases from year to year, which then drives the budgetary increase, which then drives our overall percentage, which goes back to the budget summary detail, which then gets all rolled into that final number. So you see how it all works out perfectly? That's why math is beautiful, isn't it? It all comes back together. That's why I love it. So these next several slides show that granular level. Josh, if you can just kind of click through it, if you want. Feel free to click away. We're getting them nervous. Keep going. Yeah. So the demographics, a lot of people maybe don't realize that our demographics are changing. We embrace all of our learners. We welcome every single learner we have. So Sue, if you want to take a moment and talk about our demo, that'd be great.
Sure, and I just recruited Kristen to
Oh,
help
even better.
out
Mhm.
because we've got some
You only recruit the best. I like it.
some info about free and reduced lunch. So, Josh, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So I think the big story here, right, is if we look up at what's happened, well, the next page actually shows the trend, but if we look at folks who identify when they enroll as white versus a Hispanic or Latino, the Hispanic and Latino community has just edged out the white folks in the district. Just to be clear, when we say Hispanic or Latino, that does not necessarily mean that they are English language learners. There is a difference. Not every person who enrolls, who belongs to the Hispanic community, is also in ELL. I just want to make that clear. So you can see even by looking at the graph, right? And I don't want to read all the other numbers to you. I know that you're familiar with those. So Josh, you want to just go to the next slide? And then the next slide shows that 10-year trend. And I think what's really interesting here now, these are our English language learners. So if you look, steadily increasing back over the last 10 years, every single year, right? I mean, we might see a slight dip like in 18, 19, but it really wasn't statistically significant. We're seeing these numbers jump. And what I can tell you is ever since we have opened the central registration office here at Midgeon, we actually are living this every single day and seeing families come in. Sometimes we welcome up to 5 and 6 families a day who are coming in. What did we say, Michael? We had 16 over the course of a couple of weeks recently come in with English learner needs, right? So it is something that we are living on a day-to-day basis, and we're very excited that we have the opportunity at central office to be part of that welcoming experience. Josh? Here you can see just the breakdown by school. So if you look at the numbers, this is just only over the past couple of months. So the chart on the left was from October 1st, those PSIS numbers. that you all know that we pull on October 1st for the state. Those are the numbers by school of students enrolled at each site who receive English language services. And then on January 21st, so just a couple of weeks ago, we asked our data secretary to pull them again. And you can see just there is that steady increase happening. I mean, look at the middle school, right? Just over the course of what, 2.5 months, I mean, we're seeing those numbers jump.
And this one's me. So, I've been in the position since 1819, and it has changed immensely. When we used to process applications, it was, right around the 54, 65%. Since COVID has happened, it has skyrocketed. We no longer accept applications, and that number you're seeing today's date, 66%. There are no applications. This is the state telling me how many students in the district are free or reduced. If we were to accept applications, we might be near the 80% marker.
Can I just jump in? I'm just gonna share from a former principal perspective, what Kristen's talking about is every single September, every family would receive that, that go-home packet with all the forms to fill out. And among those forms was always the application. You remember, Jason, right, for free and reduced lunch, and we would be flooded, the secretaries would be flooded with those applications. But you're
I
saying.
would get 1,000 of them,
Right.
but it would also be students who were directly certified too, so it would be just complete chaos.
Right, so our community eligibility, can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, CEP, basically every student in the district gets free breakfast, free lunch every single day. They can purchase second meals, but it ensures the kids are getting nutritious meals every day because, outside of school, we don't know what they're getting.
Right, but the reason we get that, right, is because we meet a certain threshold.
Yes, the
Okay.
threshold, so the state of Connecticut did drop down to 25% threshold. Districts that have done it, I just went to a meeting, they are not making it. So right around the 60% mark is the only way you can really afford to do it as a district whole.
And we're just above that.
Yes, we are.
Any questions on the district?
Is that just breakfast or is it breakfast and lunch?
Breakfast and lunch.
It's breakfast and, okay.
Yep, for every student.
Yep.
Next section, enrollment projections, current enrollment numbers. And these are numbers that we get from NESDEC, this is our partner, been our partner for way before my time. And they do a lot of districts across Connecticut. So we'll scroll through these. Josh, next. It's okay. So this chart has actually changed drastically for our community. And I'll show you the next slide, which is more about us. Or I won't. Okay. So on the NESDEC, it's like 3,600, we're at 3,862 currently, and as Sue said, that does not even recognize our new 16 that we just took in. So when these numbers were pulled, so we're happy that people are coming to our learning community. We could not be happier, but I want everyone to understand that that's a good thing that our trend is going up, not a bad thing. Josh. Now, what we did here in these next couple of slides, we did our traditional school schematic and we did our plan for our redistrict school schematic. The important thing to note here is the average class size. I want everyone to understand the average class size, trying to keep the average class size under 24 really tremendously helps our teachers' ability to educate each and every student, rather than have an enormous amount of students in the room, which makes it very, very difficult. So you'll notice that on both this traditional and on the redistrict, really focus your attention on that. And that's the purpose and the intent that was done, rather than say, hey, let's max the classes out at 30. 30 in a classroom is just not a good recipe for education, and actually we would lose all of the growth that we've worked so hard to do. Go ahead, Josh. Keep going. One more. One more. So with that, Laura,
My
So on
turn?
you.
Okay, so the next bunch of pages really go into everything that I share with you every month when I come in with the numbers. So this slide right here just looks at our overall sped information, and you'll see we had been on that increase every year, kind of topped it out in the 17-18 school year, and then we put a lot of things in place, a lot of training, because we were doing some over-identifying. We brought it way down. COVID came. After COVID, we did have a lot more referrals coming in with children dealing with many different issues. But now we've kind of plateaued, and I feel like we are in a consistent place, and we're consistently the 15th to 16th percent prevalence rate, which is good. That's where we want to be, much better than that 17-18 number. The pages after that, Josh, if you can go down to, let's see. Why don't you go down to 69? 70, sorry. I'm only seeing, I'm seeing 2 pages per 1 page on my computer. Okay, so the next few pages talk about our choice kids. So as we've talked about every month at our meetings, our choice numbers have really been going down. We've been bringing more kids home, which is exciting to see. So the first graph here on page 70 is with our magnet students, and that has really gone down. Red is special ed, black is the gen ed, gray obviously is the combined. So nice decrease. And as a result of that, we've been able to lower our budget request for magnets for next year by about $25,000. And there's another picture of the graph on page 71, just so you can see some of the decline. And then if you look at slide 73, this is our VOAG numbers. We've also talked about that. If you look up at the chart, you can see like our graph is pretty much status quo, but at the same point, we are declining a little bit each year since 2020. So that's been going down a bit. And our last one, oh, and so as a result of that, on page 75, you can see that we are asking for $25,000 less in the VOAG costs. And then charter is the last one. We have very few students in charter, but over the past few years, different charter schools have opened. So this is both our 504 and our special ed kids at charter. It's on page 77. So our numbers here, you can see since 2022, they've declined. The black is the combination of 504 and special ed. So there's been a pretty steady decline. Again, our kids are coming home, so we're excited about that. So we are not showing a reduction though. Right, Donna? We're not asking for less in charter.
Correct.
Okay, outplacement, my baby. So if we can go to page 79, these are my outplacements. And you could see, obviously, where we were. Again, that 18-19, before you guys really committed to do something about special ed. And so that was our high. And now we're at 78. That you can see how that's been status quo since we kind of got some practices in place. And we're actually lower than we were 10 years ago, which is, as Michael said, kind of unheard of because numbers are out of control everywhere. So I think we're doing things well. With our outplacements, we do still have the cost, as I've explained to you. You can have somebody move in tomorrow with a $250,000 price tag on them. So it's just always an unknown, but we've been pretty consistent, you know, as far as since 2019. Again, you can see that on the bottom of 79. Yes.
Just the packet that was on the table here, they're page 78 and 79. I'm just making sure that's the same page twice, right? I'm looking here, it looks like,
Yeah, so, yes, and I wondered if one was supposed to be private and one was supposed to be public, but I think it's just a preprint, right?
The one is outplaced and one is private outplaced. Yeah. That what you mean?
no,
No.
the page is actually duplicated.
Duplicated.
Oh,
Yeah.
So is that supposed to be private outplaced on the bottom and then public outplaced on page 79, or is it just the same page twice with two different numbers?
80 is public.
Okay, so 78 and 79 are a duplicate.
Yes.
Okay,
And then, and the difference with the public and the private, when I first came here, we were putting our public outplacements, which are all the risks, under private, and that was actually public. So a few years back, we converted that. That's why the numbers changed so drastically. But you know where we are with the outplacements. We've done a lot of reductions. Yes, we still have cases where we have to outplace. So we're always going to have that, but I feel like we're a lot more consistent. So that's where we are with that. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Laura.
Yes. 80.
So section 5,
Five.
this is the part of the section that
That's okay.
several board members have asked for. These are the Excel spreadsheets that show everything, and it shows everything by fund account and school. That's how it's broken down. So the next several pages, Josh, go ahead, really just show that. But once again, important, and I think everyone knows where I'm gonna go if we push the fast forward button, back. 7.28 again, right? So the 7.28 again on page 96. Who can remember the three spots? Page 5, 18, and 96. There you go. If you remember that, and you look at the first 10 pages, the rest is pretty easy. So the neat part is, obviously, all kidding aside, that it does line up, but it also is just a different way to view the data, which several board members have asked for, and this was why we included that. Before we go to the Q&A section, once again, I do not want to miss anyone. Our administrators, kudos to all of them. Kristen, Sue, Dean, Rachel, Donna, Laura, and Kim. This does not get done by one person. And the board, you're included in that team, as I've said numerous times. This is your part, working with the team to approve this budget that is beyond fiscally responsible and needed for our students and our community. So that is exactly why. The next piece of this presentation will be the Q&A. Thank you once again for everyone who sent their questions in. This is your time if you want to have a deeper conversation on an answer to one of those questions. We'd be more than happy, any member of the team can definitely talk to answers to the question. In fairness, to give you the most accurate response to any additional questions, we could either do it two ways. We can take the questions this evening. Marissa will take copious notes on that, and we can put it in the budget Q&A, or you can feel free to email Ms. Graziani, and we could also include it in the budget Q&A. It's not as if we don't want to be, quote unquote, put on the spot, but that's not respectful to anyone in the process. Your answers deserve the time, energy, and effort to answer effectively, just like we did with these 33 questions. You took the time to put it together. We took the time necessary to give you an answer as an entire central office team. It did not get done in isolation. Donna did not lock herself in a room and answer these questions. Kim did not lock herself in a room and answer all these questions. We all sat in a room and put our hats together and really gave you an answer to your questions that are a deep, deep dive. So Josh, if you can go to the Q&A, I'd be, as I said, if any member from the board, I'm sorry, the budget committee, I apologize. I always forget there's others on the committee. I'm sorry, Lisa, Jason, and Shelley. But if anyone would like a deeper answer to any of the questions, feel free to take a moment, look through. I'm sure you had some star issues, and or, as I said, we'd be more than happy to share our deeper answer with you this evening.
Can I just ask that when the questions come in that I can be looped in
Certainly. So
as chair of the budget, just to,
100%. I think if anyone has a question to send to Mary and CCU, that's beyond appropriate.
that would be great. Thank
Sure,
you.
certainly.
Mr. Putnam.
I have a couple questions from the presentation tonight. I think Laura probably has very easy answers. The VOAG cost that tanked, went way down last year.
Yeah.
We had the same number of students, but if I recall, is that because there was a cap on tuition? What was the reason behind that? There was a,
Explain that. We were just talking about
Yeah,
this.
you're correct. I believe that the state did cap the amount, that we would be charged.
Right, it was a significant amount less.
I think we saved like $250,000
Because if you look at the
last
graph,
year.
it goes whoop,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a little bit misleading because we were just talking before we started. It really had to do with that reduction.
Okay, and then a follow-up question on the private and public sped.
Yes.
Are those the only people that we transport from special ed? So if you're listed in that page 78 and 79 that Mr. Lafreniere was mentioning, it talks about the number of students and private and public altogether. Are those the people that we would transport? Is that the only special ed
Yes.
transport?
Yes,
Those
so
78
those,
kids?
those would be all of our kids that were outplaced.
And that's the only time we would do a transportation cost as an outplaced student?
Well, not necessarily, because if we had like, let's say, a student with like a, that suddenly broke a leg and needed special transportation for that on a 504 plan,
Gotcha.
that a run would have to be added for that.
Okay.
Okay, but typically, yeah, it's just our students that are in outplaced facilities.
Okay. Thank you. That was my question about this. Yeah.
While we're in that section, just on page 72, if Josh is pulling up numbers, I noticed that the actual for magnet school cost for special ed services has been grossly over budgeted.
Right.
And I see, and I know that we can have an increase at any given time. That's always the case
Yep.
with special ed. Is that a hard number there that we're feeling comfortable with, or could we go even? I mean, we're only at 373, 914.02, which is for this year. That's an actual. Is that fully encumbered, or is that still outstanding? That there's still others that could be outstanding.
That was encumbered, fully
Okay.
encumbered at this point.
At this point, but we could
Right.
still have potential
We
increases.
can, but unlike, I think we're less likely to see big increases there. It's more like with outplacements, a kid moves in and has to go to CJR or something like that.
And Laura, if I may,
Yes.
to Jason's point, that's a great point, and that's exactly why it's more accurately at 450 as opposed to 630, 630, 750. So it went more based off of that actual, and even though we know we could fluctuate, that's why, and I don't want to speak for Laura, that's why she gave that much more.
Yeah, every
But it's
year,
closer to the actual, so you are correct.
Okay.
If that was your question.
Yeah, it absolutely
Make
is.
sure I answered
Yeah.
it. Yep, sorry, Laura.
And I didn't
Yeah,
notice
I
that
didn't know
in
what
my
his
first
question
look
was.
through. I didn't see that my first look
Understood.
through, so it's almost shocking to see the overage of budgeting and.
every year, I laid out 5
Yeah.
years and I literally go line by line and look at exactly that. So, well, every year we're over budgeting here, we can knock this down.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
always do that.
And I would just like to say too, one other thing if I can is,
Sure.
is Mr. Wilson said, that, you know, budgets are coming out and living in the area that I live in, Granby, but Simsbury right now is proposing to do their own in-house. They're actually looking to purchase a building and create their own in-house for the same thing for much less students than what we're looking to do, but at a savings, and that's in a much more affluent town than what we have, but they're noticing those costs. So it's not a Torrington unique situation. It is global, and everybody is feeling that pinch and looking to bring kids home where they should be. And I think that as a team, it's really been a focus, and I think we've been doing a great job. And I look forward to the board approving Fast Academy to not only do the special ed, but also the general ed students who are needing that extra support. Right now, Simsbury is looking like, I think it's just special ed programming that they're looking to put into that new building that they're going to buy. So just wanted to put that out there as a comparison for the board and others to hear.
Any questions?
No.
John?
No, thank you.
I do. I have
Okay.
a question about the
Tell us the
enrollment.
page.
Oh, I'm sorry, page 67, under the redistrict. You had said something about the keeping it below 30 kids.
Yes.
And I saw that some of the second and third grade numbers were a little bit high. Is this gonna be like once Southwest is redistrict, will that bring these numbers down?
So if you're looking on the current redistrict here, so if we're looking on this redistrict, so if you look, you're talking about the 25-26.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see
this is-
for Torringford, grade 2 is 29.4 kids, and for Vogel, it's 29.8 and 28.8.
Very observant. And Kim, if you
Do
want
you
to.
want, I was gonna say, you want me to jump in?
Yeah, please.
No, because that's why we gave you the chart on the bottom right, because those two class sizes for grades, for all of those, are just Torringford and Vogel Wetmore. You can see in Southwest, it says to be determined, because we haven't figured that out yet.
Yep.
So that's why if you look down the bottom right, that's the average class size of all three schools combined.
Oh, okay, I
So
don't
what-
see that on here, but that's okay.
On where?
Right here.
It's,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't have it,
Oh,
so.
why do you not have? why-
I don't know,
why do you
maybe
not
I
have that?
didn't print out the updated one, so
Oh,
maybe that's why,
Yeah,
so
that's a
I
great
didn't
question,
see
but yeah,
that.
and that brings it
So,
way down. Thank
yes.
you.
If I may
Yeah,
add,
do you
the
wanna
other
add
piece
this?
for that for you for clarification is that the presentation shows the 4 teachers each to each grade level over the Southwest. So that average, they took the teachers out
There's a new one it
of the
has.
Vogel and Southwest, or so
Right.
Vogel and Torringford. So that number is really inflated because the teachers are moved to Southwest with an undetermined amount. So it would never be 29.
Which is why we added that chart down below, because when we saw that, when we saw the 29, we're like, people are gonna see that, and they're gonna think that's real, and it's not real.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give you what the, across all three schools, what it would look like.
Okay.
So before I come back to Jeff, because I know he has more questions, does anyone else have any questions? No one? Yeah, do you have any
Yeah,
questions,
what?
Mr. Cavanero?
One specific on page 11. Can I get more detail why is the transportation budget almost $500,000 increase this year?
Who was raising her hand?
Can I call point of order? Sorry, point of order. It's not public comment, Ellen. The questions are for the board, the people on your subcommittee, not city council.
If you could
I'm
email
sorry.
and I'll forward it and get an answer. Thank you.
can I just ask one question in regards to that point of order? In the past, I know subcommittees have allowed, the chairperson of the subcommittee, I thought the chairperson of the subcommittee would allow at their discretion, public to speak.
Mhm.
That's always been in facilities and policy, that if someone's here and the chair of the subcommittee.
I don't recall that being our policy, Jason. I know our policy is to not invite people from the public, and I'm just going back to when we had our yonder conversations, our dress code conversations. Inviting the public in to talk after public comment and during a meeting is not productive. And in all fairness to everyone else on city council and board of finance, they haven't seen this. They haven't had an opportunity. Everybody should have an opportunity to look at it and ask questions at the same time.
My tenure on the board, I have always asked anyone who's in the room if they have a question. It doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be answered right away, but if there's a question that you have, you can certainly email me and I'll make sure that we get an answer.
Sure. Yeah. Feels personal, but that's okay. When I was chairman of the board, I allowed the subcommittee chair to dictate the terms of their meetings.
The Robert's rules, we can't call a point of order because it is not an open session.
Quite frankly, as an ex officio, as member of the city council, I have a different standing than just a public participant. In case anybody wants to know.
Okay,
So I think the mayor is the only ex officio member of the board, Paul. You're not a member of the Board of Education.
Okay,
As city council, that doesn't default you as a Board of Ed member.
Okay, let's, your question has been duly noted. I will
It's okay, go on.
get an answer. Okay, just send it to me and I'll forward it to whoever can answer, or
Thank you.
any others, just like
Sure.
anyone else, if you have a question.
Sure.
Okay?
Mhm.
Any more questions?
How would you imagine I'd have questions?
I don't know, just an
inkling. In the Q&A, if we go to question 20, I can ask a follow-up question to my answer.
Hold on, I gotta
That's-
find it. I have to 15.
I have 15.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the new one.
Here's the new one.
Repair equipment.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here, if no one has the colored one, the new one, there's 30 something questions. on
It
it.
goes up to 33.
I knew they were your wordings.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just, I saw the
Okay, I got
answer.
20.
I just didn't see the new account anywhere.
So, Donna, that was, I believe, that other account that was in one of the other questions that you asked, Jeff, which says that was a new account to do cleanup.
Sure, just the reduction. I was looking for the,
Oh, you mean, so,
yeah, so it says that it's moved, we moved it in a cleanup, but I don't see the other account in the budget.
so Donna, where's that separate repairs account? I believe that was one of the other questions.
You're saying you don't see the 5430.03? Is that what you're looking for?
Hold on, let me. back over to my-
Yes. Well, there's 30 and then 03.
Sure, but they were both down and just, we had aging buildings. And there's a lot to be done, you know, we've had limited capital for a couple of years and the buildings are getting older. So I was just expressing my concern. I did say that we were moving to a different account. So following that answer, I didn't see where we moved it to an account that reflected an increase or a flat number to account for the age of the buildings that are being proposed to be left open. So you guys
We can
figure
get
it out.
back to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you could get back to us would be great.
Next. Well, you hit your question then, maybe.
Okay, so for 25. The nurse, just a clarification. So it's gonna be part-time if the fast happens. It's gonna be part-time between,
St. John Paul the Great.
Yep.
Yes, and fast, and bless you, and currently, she is already going over and supporting the students at East School, because we don't have a nurse over there.
okay, so it's
So-
all,
We already have a
it's just
full-time
being-
nurse.
Right, just
Okay.
changing the building.
So with the FAST Academy, would that require more coverage by a nurse or?
The nurse can do it.
Yeah.
Under contractual obligations and split their time with private schools, and we still cover our obligation.
Okay.
To service the private schools while still servicing our needs at Fast Academy.
Okay,
Yes.
thank
I
you.
knew you. I got you. Good job.
Number 33, if we could.
That's a big one.
33, I appreciated the extra detail at the bottom. That was great. I guess my question as a board member is, this is assuming that all 6 buildings are remaining open. And so the costs and various pieces is what it costs to keep it. This is its impact to GB. Keeping Forbes open does have an impact to GB because there's people who are still carrying, like the custodians was 183,000. I saw the note about the Title I funding. I had a question about how that worked, but as I thought, is that based on building or is it based on number of students we have? How does that Title I piece play into it? But it's hard to figure out, what it costs to run that program or run other programs like Keeping Southwest Open if we don't know what it would cost if we did, like we took that staff and shifted them, or if you moved the custodians from Forbes, you wouldn't have 5 new ones because you'd have 3 moving.
No, so what we did in the entire budget packet, and just like we explained at the redistricting meeting, that is all allocated for in that redistrict amount that we're gonna fund through grants. In order to answer your question, as a board member, and you had said several times, show me the number. That's the number. So if we close that tomorrow and the board makes a decision not to have Fast Academy, $113,436.70. However, that's why this piece is important. Donna mentioned this last time. The way the Title I grant is written, it is for Forbes School. So if we close Forbes School, we're forfeiting that amount, which in turn means we're gonna have a deficit of $186,000. So your question about shoveling the pieces, that's already accounted for in the budget as we presented, and it's also accounted for in the redistrict plan for Fast Academy on that separate budget one pager, which I believe was page 9 or 10 of the document. So there is no added cost. This is the cost. Was the question, how much are we gonna, what's the number? This is the number. But if we do that, which is a board level decision, this is what we leave on the table. We have to be crystal clear about that. So to answer custodians and other, those are already factored in with the budget. And that budget sheet on the redistricting allocates for that money.
Sure. In my prior question, though, I asked about the custodians there and where they were funded from. It was the 183,000 is coming from GB for that particular building. So if the Forbes Fast Plan didn't work out due to lack of funds or however the whole thing panned out, those custodians would, I would assume, move, right? He would move them to his other buildings, and you wouldn't necessarily need 5 new ones.
No, so if we go back to your previous question, the reason we need go back to 32, please. The reason we need new custodians, and you actually asked this question last year and pushed for more custodians.
I did.
So the reason we need more custodians is because of our increased footprint. We have a bigger increased footprint now to cover. So that is why the increase for the custodians.
Right, of which I agree. It's the team. We need to keep these buildings in excellent shape for a lot of the reasons we've mentioned previously. But if Forbes did not exist,
we're only going to say one custodian.
There would be 3 custodians that would move,
which we have allocated for in here. So
they're
moving.
So the FAST program is only 1 custodian.
That is correct.
That I did not.
Yeah, that was in the detailed description breakdown.
Okay. And then the Southwest piece of it, I guess, would be a similar question for further analysis later. Same thing with the Southwest. That's the projected plan is to split everybody up, but there is a cost to that as well.
Well, if we were to close Southwest, we would save similar to that bottom number and save the 2 custodians I believe Dean has in his plan moving forward. So it'd be 2 custodial savings and the cost of keeping the lights on. So if you take that 113 rough math, add another 80 grand to it. So you have 200 if you close Southwest. But if we close Southwest, as we mentioned, Wallingford and Vogel are busting at the seams. So we would have a real problem just fitting everyone in and fitting programs in. So yes, to answer your question about the 200,000.
I would, yes, but also, just a reminder too, I shared last time our average cost for 1 outplacement, 1. And I believe, I don't have my paper in front of me, I think it was about 118,000. So by having this FAST Academy, we are hopefully going to be solving some of these big behavioral issues that we see in our schools and hopefully stop that from occurring in the tracks. So 1 kid not outplaced is that cost.
Yeah, everybody don't miss.
Yeah, no, I just wanted you to just put that in.
I'm not questioning the value of the program. I'm asking for the taxpayers and everybody in the buildings and the students, what does it actually cost to run these programs? So that the board and everybody who is involved says, hey, to have Fast Academy, it's $1.3 million being funded out of X, Y, and Z. And then everybody says, oh, that's a great idea. That's what we need to do. Or it costs $7 million and we don't have the money to do it. That's what I'm trying to get at, is what's the actual number. I'm not disputing the value of the programs. Sure. That's all.
I have a question. Don't we have that information, Jeff? We have how much it's going to cost for the program broken down by position from the teachers to the custodian. So maybe I misunderstood what additional information you're looking for, unless that's it.
I just got the answer at Forbes. At Southwest, it's a similar situation. When you split kids, when you take K3 and split it into 3 buildings, the potential exists to need more people to do that. So it's not a budget conversation, it's a redistricting conversation. So that's why I didn't ask that particular question. We can figure that out as we go along.
Yes, Jason.
The board,
What page are you on?
I'm not.
Okay.
He's going
I saw you looking, but I wanted to get on
The
the
board
same page.
approves the whole redistricting with everything. How difficult is it to redo this to make sure that every line is in every building where it has to be? And is that going to be done in enough time to get it to the city so that they're not questioning why it looked like this, but now it looks like this, and does everything match up?
It's a great question, Jason. Thank you actually for asking
my
it. So we would make sure that that happens. One. Number two is the reason, and this is why we tried to really drive home at the last board meeting, think of it as a plug and play. If you think of Forbes and Southwest now going to the new TIS, that is going to help us tremendously because those 2 pages on that detailed granular analysis become TIS. And we just have to take from TMS the 6th grade staff and put it on. So yes, it's work. Yes, it would take us some time, but that's exactly what it would be. And likewise for Southwest, we would have to take that redistrict chart, make it real at the bottom right corner that Kim had alluded to, and also put back into the granular level what that means. So taking the 2, 2, 2, and 2 out of Vogel and the 2, 2, 2, and 2 out of Torringford, putting them into Southwest, and that's going to be the number. So it will take us some time, but yes, Kim, I'm sorry, you wanted to?
Yes, what I want to say is, we can provide you with the information on the FTEs, but the salaries we can't. Because
Right.
you have to understand, as a union person, that's gonna take some time
Oh, yeah, and
to
that's why-
understand which people are moving to which places.
And that's why.
Once we do that, right, so,
But the overall
so,
bottom does.
but the bottom line will be, which is why we did it, part of the reason why we did it this way. Because right now, the people are all gonna be the same, they're gonna be in different places, but we have to do a fair and transparent process on how we're gonna move people.
Right.
So we have to make sure we do that right, and we don't wanna just pretend to figure it out, like who's what they wanna do, where they wanna go, and taking people's choices into consideration. So there's a lot of thoughtful, effort that's gonna go into play with it.
And that's why I bring it up, because I know the time that you're going to need to do it. And that's
So,
why I
yeah,
bring it up.
so I think we will be able to provide you with kind of an FT,
Yeah.
but not a dollar amount
Right.
by building. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn like that.
No, you're fine.
Because I just don't think we're gonna have all that by then.
But I think, Kim, the important piece, and you said it already, is that bottom line number. Doesn't move our 7.2. But I appreciate that, Jason.
And can I just ask a follow-up to that? Not necessarily that, but is there anywhere in the budget for new signage to make it TIS?
So that is something that, I've been actually talking to Dean about, and it has to come out, and, we are going to have to take down the TMS and put in the TIS. And there's gonna be some changes, but he's actually been trying to work with OMG to get some rough estimates on the costs.
Okay.
And also stationary,
That's correct.
or anything that's involved with that, and that's not built into this budget, correct? Okay.
And we can increase any one of those line items once that decision becomes finalized. Just like this board increased the 250 for the move, that would just be a motion to increase that line item again by 250 or so thereabouts, and we'll be able to cover that. That is correct.
Or it could be,
Could be more,
or it
but
could be a different way to acquire that
Yes.
funding for.
Correct.
Yes. Anything else? It's a lot of information. So if anyone has any questions, as I said, you can email me, superintendent. You want him to go through Mary?
Mary and you, yes, please.
And are we still CCing the 2 co-chairs of the
If
board?
you, I think if you send it to.
Please, or Michael can send it to us.
That's fine. We can
That's easier.
Yeah, send it to Mary and I, and then we'll go from there. Oh, it's a lot of information. A lot of work went into it, appreciate it. Okay, so, any other questions? I do. You said you have, thank you. You have the detailed analysis in Excel.
That is good.
Would you be able to send that to me because, so I can,
Labby question, and I'm sure the answer will be yes.
okay, thank you. Because
I
I
would
read
not
it.
be sending that
I've,
document, because I had
come on,
37
Michael.
iterations that you don't want to see. So yes, Donna will send you the clue.
At least it's not on paper and it's a
It is not.
truckload, right?
That's correct.
Okay, if you could, just, it's just for my benefit and it's what I'm used to, so.
Absolutely.
She has the clean, so I prefer her copy.
It will come.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, topics for future meetings. I'm thinking budget. What do you think?
I would say fine.
Financials and then 25, 26.
Need to add the contracts that Glenn couldn't talk about in his facility meeting.
Oh, any contracts that are not
That's what he was.
facilities, that are not
Jeff, you talking
facilities
about
related.
Yeah, well, there was a list he was asking for and.
It was only that one, I think.
I shouldn't, is there a list or is that the only one?
Auto propane, oh, you want all the contracts from the business office?
No, no, no.
Okay.
We want any contracts that are coming up that,
Sure.
if
Similar
there's any,
list,
if not,
Not a lot of detail.
Yeah, I
just the
have it.
list, that's-
We have one.
You know, it's
Yeah.
a public document, we don't
Yeah.
have too much detail, it's just more or less a reminder for anybody in the committees to say, hey, this is gonna expire. We
Sure.
need to
Yeah.
renew.
yeah.
It's a 3-year with a 2-year extension, that type of thing, so we know, hey, we gotta get something out.
Yes, on it.
Just. No,
Sounds good.
no rush.
And if it's not next meeting, the one after that is fine because this is a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be next meeting.
Yeah.
That's all I'm, okay,
Sounds good.
all right. Comments for the good of the order.
No comments, great presentation, Michael. I haven't seen this kind of detail since I've been part of this and, just very well put together.
Thanks for the hard work, guys, and taking my questions. I'm sure there'll be more, but thank you.
Thank you, great meeting, thank you.
Just want to say thank you to the leadership team for helping support with my first budget support with the superintendent and everybody here at central office. It's a well-oiled machine. I couldn't feel any more better about it and how it all went.
Josh?
I just want to thank the members of this committee, very thoughtful, very time consuming on your part. We all know that everyone has a lot of things to do, so to take the time and to give us detailed questions, we appreciate that. We appreciate your partnership and support, so thank you.
Thank you. Sue?
Miss Kristen.
No, I'm going and
She's going
then,
up to the
Oh,
screen.
diagonal.
Oh,
Sue.
that's.
Oh, sorry.
oh, yeah, Sue DePretis.
No, just thank you to central office staff for putting the budget together and all the hard work that went into it. Because I know there was a lot of hours, a lot of weekends, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Hear you perfect now. Sandy?
Great meeting, lots of good information. Thanks.
Thank you.
Going right along.
My turn.
Your turn.
Thank you to Michael for being the captain of our ship. And thank you to everyone else on the team who's pitched in and done this very intricate work. It was a lot of hard work, but a lot of fun, even for somebody who's not really a numbers person. And thank you to the committee for some really good questions. It's always, I think, worthwhile to have a healthy, ongoing debate or discussion about how to do better.
No, thank you. Nice job, boss.
Rachel?
Learned a lot.
Yes, I echo what Dean says. Great meeting. Thank you to the district for hearing the concerns of the building and, you know, our needs. And thank you for the board for looking through this so thoroughly and really for everybody around this table for putting kids first. Great meeting and thank you for all your hard work on this.
Michael? Mr. Michaels?
Oh, Peter,
Peter?
I want to also thank you for the detail. It really, I am a numbers person, and I do love looking at that, the charts and the graphs. So, really very detailed. Thank you. Everything.
So far, so good, and welcome to the city council, half of whom, except David, that have been here at one time or another tonight. Thank you.
Well, we certainly feel welcome.
And-
Thank you.
And anyone who didn't read Jason's remarks to the hearing at Northwestern, Sue sent them out, read them. They really expose the whole special ed funding thing and compares it to the work and everything else, so.
Excellent job with the budget. I'm excited. It's a lot, but it's appropriate. I would be remiss to say that with this redistricting and the board's need to approve this, there is a lot of angst in staff in knowing what's happening. And the sooner this happens, the better, please, because it's also going to help the district, the administration, to put in place the plan to make whatever it is you decide happen. So the sooner the better, please, because there is a lot. Every single day, people know that I come to these meetings and they're asking me, why didn't they tell us at that meeting where we're going? I'm like, because that's not the process yet. We're not there yet, but please get there, and the sooner the better. Yeah, it's fun.
And that's why we have you on this committee, so you can relay that to them.
Yep.
Want to say anything? Do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Paul,
Excuse me?
any comments for the good of the order?
I'll save them for another time in another group. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the hard work for everyone. Who are we missing?
That was Michael's spot.
Oh, okay, yes, okay.
He's still up there.
He's down there.
I made sure, I have to make sure I got everyone. Okay, look forward to our next meeting. We'll have probably more questions, but great questions, great answers. And thank you for coming. It'd be great if someone from the finance board would. But thank you.
Yeah, we will be allowed to ask questions.
I will make sure. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 7:19.
Thanks, Josh.